Good morning, friends. Today we are going to discuss about the bone marrow examination, and in this session we will cover about the bone marrow aspiration as well as the uh, bone marrow biopsy. So myself, Dr. S.K. Sutrkar, Department of Pathology. If we go through the indication of bone marrow aspiration, there are two important aspects. One is the diagnostic aspect, another one is the therapeutic aspect. So in the diagnostic, we can diagnose with these bone marrow aspiration. There are various conditions which can be easily diagnosed. First one is idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura, in which we will see basically there are small petechial hemorrhages. They are formed over the skin, and these can, such type of disorder, they can easily uh, diagnosed on the bone marrow aspiration. Second one is the hypoplastic anemia or aplastic anemia, in which the bone marrow is hypocellular and there is an increase in the fat cell as well as the plasma cells. So this condition can also be diagnosed on the bone marrow aspiration. Apart from this, the third one is the leukemia, in which the bone marrow is basically flooded with the immature cells, especially the blast cells. Fourth one is the megaloblastic anemia, in which there is a deficiency of vitamin B2, vitamin B12 and folic acid, and a lot of uh, basically dysplastic changes are basically seen in the erythroid as well as the myeloid series. So this condition can also be diagnosed by this aspiration. Another one is the infections such as Kala-Azar, storage disorders such as Gaucher disease, and pyrexia of unknown origin, and myelofibrosis. So these are the few conditions in which we can do the bone marrow and we can easily diagnose these conditions. Second one is the therapeutic. Here, when we have to perform the bone marrow transplantation, the hematopoietic stem cells, they are taken from the bone marrow, and so this is the therapeutic indication for the bone marrow transplantation. So bone marrow aspiration can be done for that only, that also. If we go through the contraindication of the aspiration, so there are basically multiple factors in which the bone marrow aspiration is contraindicated. The first one is the hemorrhagic disorders such as congenital coagulation factor deficiencies, hemophilia, disseminated intravascular coagulation, DIC, and some other type of concomitant use of the anticoagulants. Apart from this, the skin inspection or recent radiation therapy, uh, in which this aspiration is contraindicated, and the bone disorders such as osteomyelitis and osteogenic imperfecta, in this also the aspiration is contraindicated. If we go through the complication of the bone marrow aspiration, here you can see there is a chances of hemorrhage, and because of multiple risk factors due to the coagulopathies, myeloproliferative disorders, extensive use of the aspirin as well as warfarin, thrombocytopenia, DIC, liver diseases, and multiple these risk factors can lead to the hemorrhage in the bone marrow. And second one is the pain, infection, and there are chances of the perforation of the major vessels, and risk of general anesthesia and sedation is also there. So these are the few complications. Now the aspiration is performed by the bone marrow needles. Here basically the two important needles they are used. One is the Klima needle and another one is the Jamshidi needle. So Klima needle is basically used for the aspiration purpose, and the Jamshidi needle is basically used for the aspiration as well as the biopsy. So if we go through the procedure is here you can see in the diagram. First of all, we have to select the this bone marrow aspiration or biopsy needle, and then we have to select the site of aspiration. Most common site of aspiration is the posterior superior iliac spine, and here in the diagram you can see the aspiration which is done from the posterior superior iliac spine, and as the needle passes through the skin, through the cortical bone and the spongy bone, and it reaches to the marrow. So multiple steps are there, and in the diagram you can easily appreciate. After the aspiration of the marrow fragments or bone marrow fluid, and this marrow aspirate is basically used for different diagnostic purposes, or it can be processed by three important way. First one is it can be used in the anticoagulant, and this anticoagulated bone marrow fluid is basically used for the molecular studies, flow cytometry and cytogenetic studies. Second one is we will use to prepare the air dried smears, and these smears can be stained by the Giemsa stain or Leishman stain, and apart from these smears are also stained for the iron stains such as pearl stain. Cytochemistry can also be performed by these dry air dried smears. And the third one is we can take a clot section of this uh, bone marrow aspirate, and this can be used for the histopathological purposes. So if we go through the differential count, then how we have to assess the counting of these bone marrow cells. Here we can use the 500 cells. On the smear we will examine these 500 cells, and we will try to differentiate, and the normal differentials, as you can see on the right side, this is the normal differentiator of the marrow cells. The myeloblast are basically seen in 0 to 3% population. Second is the myelocyte, 4 to 10%, metamyelocyte 3 to 8%, and the neutrophil including the band form you can see 26 to 45%, lymphocyte 5 to 20%, monocyte 1 to 3%, and plasma cells 0 to 2%, proerythroblast 1%, early normoblast 1 to 5%, intermediate normoblast 5 to 20%, and the late normoblast 5 to 15%, megakaryocyte 0 to 2%, macrophages 0 to 1, and myeloid erythroid ratio 3:1, and any other different type of cells they can also be assessed and they can be counted. So this is the differential count of the bone marrow aspirate, normal differential count. So under the examination we will examine the multiple aspect for the reporting purposes of this bone marrow aspiration. So the first important point is the cellularity of the marrow. So we will try to assess the cellularity, and we will discuss in detail the cellularity of the marrow. The second point is the myeloid erythroid ratio. Here you can see the ratio between these two cells, myeloid precursors as well as the erythroid precursors, and in multiple diseases this ratio is basically altered. Apart from this, we can do the erythropoiesis, in which we will see the maturation and the counting of the erythroid precursors. And the third one is megakaryopoiesis or myeloid cells, and we will try to see the maturation as well as the counting of these myeloid cells. And the third one is the basically megakaryopoiesis or megakaryocyte. We used to try to comment on these megakaryocyte number as well as their morphology. And the next one is the plasma cells. In certain condition these plasma cells they are increased, and especially in case of aplastic anemia. Apart from this, reticulum cells they are also counted and they commented. And then we can see the reticular iron stain or iron studies are done, and in order to assess the iron stores. Apart from this, sideroblast they are examined, and any other finding related to any hemoparasite or anything can also be reported. So these are the few reports, and finally we will make a comment or the opinion on this particular smear. So this is how we will examine the smear. And on the right side you can see the slide. Here you can see the multiple precursors of the erythroid series as well as myeloid series and the megakaryocytic series. So if we see the topography of these cells in the diagram, you can easily assess the cortical bone and along with the cellularity and the fat cells, they are also assessed on this slide. And here we can divide these zone into three zones. The endosteal zone is very near to the cortical bone, and in this region basically we will see the immature myeloid cell. And in the intermediate zone basically this is the zone of erythroid precursor, as well as matured myeloid cells. So they are seen in the intermediate zone, and in the central zone basically this is the region of megakaryocytes. So this is how we have to examine the cells depending on their topography. So starting with the cellularity. So cellularity cannot be assessed without knowing the age of the patient. So cellularity basically changes with the age. So a young child on average has the cellularity of about 80%, and as compared to the 75-year-old man is having the cellularity around 30%, and both these are normal. So there is a simple formula by which we can assess the cellularity: 100 minus age of the patient. If someone is of 70 years, then its cellularity considered to be normal, around 30%, and if young child, 10-year-old child or 15-year-old child, then its cellularity will be 85%. So this is how, by a simple formula, we can easily assess the cellularity. This is the same. Here you can see 95 to 100% in case of infant, the cellularity is considered as normal. 75 to 80% in children, 50 to 60% in the adult, and 20 to 40% in the old age. And this cellularity is reported as hypercellular, normocellular, or uh, hypocellular, depending on the cell counts and the ratio between the cells and the fat cells. So if we go through the next is the erythropoiesis. Here we can examine the maturation of these erythroid cells, and first of all we have to assess the reaction, whether it is normoblastic, megaloblastic, or micronormoblastic, and depending on these reactions we can easily make a note on the erythropoiesis. So normoblastic reaction is basically seen in the hemolytic conditions. The megaloblastic reaction usually seen in the megaloblastic anemias, and the micronormoblastic reaction is especially seen in the iron deficiency anemias. So apart from this, the erythropoiesis, the reaction, we will comment on the dyserythropoiesis, any features of dyserythropoiesis, and the maturation of the erythroid cells. And we will try to see the early normoblast, intermediate normoblast, and the late normoblast, and their proportion, whether it is normal or not, and their maturation, whether they are maturing in normal way or abnormal way. So most of the time we will see in the pathological conditions there is a infective erythropoiesis is basically seen. And in the diagram you can see the megakaryocytic erythroid progenitor cell, from where the proerythroblast is basically develops, and from these proerythroblast there is a development of early erythroid cells, and then you can see the intermediate erythroblast, the late normoblast, and the here you can see the nuclear extrusion and the reticulocytes cells and the mature RBC, and these reticulocytes and mature RBC, they are easily appreciated on the peripheral smear. So this is how the development of the erythroid precursor is going on in the bone marrow. Now coming to the dyserythropoiesis, that means there is a abnormal type of erythropoiesis. There are different type of features which easily assessed on the bone marrow aspirate, and here you can see the nuclear lobulation is very important, and on the diagram it can be easily assessed, and there is a nuclear binucleation as well as the nuclear bridging between the two erythroid precursors, and you can also assess the megaloblastic or megaloblast, in which the chromatin is basically sieve like. So these are the multiple dysplastic cells which can be easily assessed, and we can make a diagnosis by seeing this different type of cells. Now coming to the myelopoiesis. In the myelopoiesis we will observe the counts of these myeloid precursors, and we will see the morphology of these cells, and we will try to comment on these morphologies whether they are hyper or hypogranulation is there, and the blast number, what is the number of these blast, and their maturation is also assessed. And the blast, here you can see in the diagram, there is a development of most immature cell is the myeloblast, and in the myeloblast you won't see any type of granulation, and in the promyelocyte you will see the primary granulation is there. And so next matured cell is the promyelocyte, then myelocyte, in which you can also see the secondary granules and no nucleolus. And the fourth one is the metamyelocyte, where there is an indentation of this nucleus is seen, and the band cell or a step cell, in which you can see the nucleus is band like. And in the mature neutrophil you will see the lobulation of the nuclei, and we can easily assess the maturation, arrest, and the degenerative changes like vacuolation in the cytoplasm, which can be assessed, and they can be play important role in the diagnosis of the different condition related to the myeloid series, especially the leukemias, and basically the acute leukemia, they can easily diagnosed on the bone marrow aspirate. Now if we go through the disc granulation, there is a changes in the morphology, and this basically typically seen in case of MDS or myelodysplastic syndrome, where you can see the hypogranularity, hypersegmentation of the neutrophils, rods are there, and oily bodies are seen, and pseudo Pelger-Huet anomaly is very typical seen, and these cells can be assessed on the in the PS as well as in the bone marrow. So in the periphelismer and the bone marrow, these is plastic cells, and can be easily assessed, and we can make a diagnosis of myelodysplastic syndrome. Now coming to the megakaryopoiesis, in which we will try to assess the number of megakaryocyte, and we will see to the budding of these platelets and evidence or morphological changes which can be seen in the megakaryocyte, and we will try to see the features of this megakaryopoiesis and the granularity of the cytoplasm. So if you go through the maturation line, here you can see the hemopoietic stem cells, it develops into megakaryoblast, and then it develops into the megakaryocyte and promegakaryocyte, then megakaryocyte, and then there is a development of budding of these cytoplasmic processes, and there is a formation of the platelets. Now we see the morphological changes or disc megakaryopoiesis. Here sometimes these megakaryocytes they become micro megakaryocytic, and they become non-functional. Apart from this, we can also see the nuclear hypolobulation, and in some condition we can see the multinucleation. So the multiple morphological changes which basically takes place in the megakaryocyte, and we can assess the different type of pathological condition on seeing this, by seeing these morphological type of changes in the megakaryocyte. Now coming to the lymphocytes and the plasma cells, in the adult around these basically less than 10% cells, they are basically seen in the marrow, and in children the lymphocytes they vary from 10 to 40%, and in adult the plasma are usually less than, they are 4%, and their number is basically increases in different type of chronic conditions or chronic infections. Here you can see the in case of aplastic anemia, as I said earlier, there is a relative increase in the number of these lymphocytes, and in the Kala Azar and these MGUS. Apart from this, the multiple myeloma and collagen disorders, in these condition we will observe there is an increase in the plasma cell as well as the lymphocytes, and in the diagram you can easily see the lymphocyte along with the plasma cells, in which you can see easily the amphophilic abundance of cytoplasm. Now we will go through the mast cells. In the mast cells there is a presence of dark granules, and whenever their number is increased, they are basically associated with some pathological conditions, and here you can see they are increase in the aplastic anemia and mastocytosis. Now if we go through the osteoblast and osteoclasts, these two cells which are basically the bone forming cells and bone resorbing cells. Here you can see the multinucleated cell in the diagram is the osteoclast, and the rimming of this bone is done by the osteoblast. So these are the bone forming cells. Now we will try to comment on the iron stores. This is very important in case of iron deficiency anemia. In order to know the iron stores or diagnose the iron deficiency anemia, the iron studies is done, and we will try to grade this iron stores on the marrow findings. There is a 0 to 6 scores. Here you can see after Gell et al. Did this grading from 0 to 6 or scoring from 0 to 6. In the 0 score you will see no iron granules. So there is a typically deficiency of these iron granules in the marrow, so that can be scored as 0. In the 1, very slight granulation is there, and small granules in the reticulum cells, they are only seen under the oil immersion lenses. So this is the grade 1. Grade 2, the iron stores are slight and few small granules visible with the low power lens. And the third one is the moderate, in which numerous small granules in all marrow particles are seen. And the fourth one is moderately heavy, and here you can see large granules in the small clumps. And the fifth one is the heavy granulation and dense large clumps of the granules, they are easily absorbed in the marrow. And the sixth one is very heavy granulation, very large deposits obscuring the bone marrow cells. So this is how we will do the grading from 0 to 6, and scoring from 0 to 6, and we can perform the grade. So interpretation of this grade on the Pearl stain, if there is a grade 0, it is basically consistent with the iron deficiency anemia, and for this we need a minimum of 7 bone marrow particles must be available before concluding the hemosiderin is absent. Now coming to the grade 1, 2, 3, here you can see the normal iron stores in case of grade 1, 2, 3, and grade 4 to 6 is the increased iron stores. This is how we will try to interpret it on the Pearl stain, the scoring as well as the grading. Apart from this, we can also observe we can also comment on the changes in the stroma, and stroma is examined for the gelatinous marrow transformation, bone marrow necrosis, fibrosis, and the increase in the new blood vessels or new angiogenesis. So in the diagram you can see a case of gelatinous marrow transformation. Foamy cells are easily appreciated. Now coming to the difference between these two conditions, the bone marrow aspiration and the bone marrow biopsy. So aspiration and Turpin biopsy are complementary to each other, and in the bone marrow aspiration we will see the better cytological details, and in case of in case of bone marrow biopsy, we will basically better to see the topography of the cells and the cellularity and the infiltration, which were basically easily appreciated. On the other hand, on the aspiration, more range of the cytochemical stains can be done, and flow cytometry can be performed apart from the immunohistochemistry. And this bone marrow aspiration is also ideal for the cytogenetic and the molecular genetics, whereas in case of biopsy, these basically the flow cytometry and cytochemistry cannot be performed, and so these biopsy can be used for the molecular as well as the cytogenetic study also. So these are a little bit difference, but they can be used complementary to each other. Now coming to the bone marrow biopsy, if we go through the reporting of these bone marrow biopsy, we will try to assess the adequacy, the cellularity, the pattern, and the presence of focal lesions, megakaryocytic numbers, and the abnormal cell clusters and locations, bone structures, and osteoclastic and osteoblastic activity of the bone. So these are the multiple points on which we have to comment in the bone marrow biopsy. They are little bit different from the which we have seen in the bone marrow aspiration, and for this we require the biopsy of 2 centimeters. This is very important, and the biopsy of 2 centimeter should be there in order to assess these changes. So if we go through the indication of the bone marrow biopsy, there are multiple indications in order to assess the topography as well as the infiltration and the structure of the bone marrow tissue. So this is basically done whenever there is and inadequate bone marrow aspiration is performed, and we won't get any aspirate, then we will go for the bone marrow biopsy, and it can accurately assess the bone marrow cellularity. So bone marrow aspiration is not that much basically helpful in the assessment of the cellularity, but bone marrow trophin biopsy or biopsy is basically typically important in the assessment of the marrow cellularity. There are we can also assess the focal lesions such as granulomas or lymphomas on the marrow, or the fibrosis on the biopsy, and we can also study the bone structures, marrow architectures, or the marrow vasculatures, and it is all basically used to diagnose the aplastic anemia, hypoplastic MDS, and the hypoplastic acute leukemias. So apart from this, we can also do the myeloproliferative disorders. They can also be diagnosed. Apart from this, we can also diagnose the Hodgkin's disease or non-Hodgkin's lymphomas, and diagnosis of hairy cell leukemias, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, and other chronic lymphoproliferative disorder can also be done by the bone marrow biopsy. So apart from this, we can also see the metastatic deposits in the bone marrow, small round cell tumors of the childhoods, leukoerythroblastic blood pictures can also be explained or diagnosed by the help of biopsy. Now apart from this, we can see the multiple myeloma. We can also assess the mineralization of the front and the oppositional growth after the tetracycline labeling, and certain type of bone disease they also can be assessed on the biopsy, the osteoporosis, osteomalacia, osteopetrosis, chronic renal failure. So these are the different indication in which we have to perform the bone marrow biopsy. So here you can see the cellularity. The cellularity steadily decrease with the advancing age, as we have discussed in the bone marrow aspiration. The basically infants, they are having the cellularity of 90 to 100% as compared to the adult, which is having around 50 to 60%, and to the old age 20 to 30%. So cellularity is very important, and we can report as hypercellular, hypocellular, or normocellular. Depending on the age, we can conclude whether it is normal or abnormal. So biopsy basically should not be reported as hypoplastic or aplastic anemia. Whenever there is a basically less amount of this less than 2 centimeter marrow fragments or marrow particle is there, we should not report the hypoplastic anemia. So in order to report adequately the biopsy, there must be 2 to 2.5% centimeter this biopsy specimen must be there, and then only we can easily diagnose the aplastic anemia. So this is the biopsy basically fragments. Here you can see the bone as well as the trabeculae. They are present, and mature trabeculae you can easily appreciate, and multiple cells along with the fat cells you can easily observe. So the topography of the cells is very important. The presentation or location of different type of cells, especially the myeloid cells, the ethroid cells, and the megakaryocytes. Their topography is basically noted, and most of the time whenever there is a change in this topography of these cells, that indicate the disease process. Example, and whenever there is a paratrabecular megakaryocytes are seen, and they are indicative of myelodysplastic syndrome and myeloproliferative disorders. Normally the myeloid precursors are basically paratrabecular, and paratrabecular and the periarteriolar regions are basically the granulocyte zone, and megakaryocyte and ethroid precursors are basically seen in the central region of the marrow, and the ethroid cells from the colonies in the central part of the bone marrow, they are basically seen. So mixed population of early, intermediate, and the late blast is rounded nuclei is seen, and the relationship of the marrow cells to the fat cells is noted. So this is how we can assess the topography of the cells on the biopsy fragments. And in the same diagram here you can see typically the topography of the cells. Very near to the bone we will see the immature myeloid cells. In the center we will see the mature myeloid cells and ethroid cells and the megakaryocytic cells. Apart from this, we can also assess the proliferative cell line, and we will make a note whether it is single ethroid cell line hyperplasia or hypoplasia is noted. Other cells such as the macrophages, plasma cells, and mast cells, eosinophils, and lymphocytes are also looked, and their numbers basically when are assessed whether they are increased or not. In case of multiple lymphoid nodules are found in the sections, and immunohistochemistry is required to rule out or to confirm the involvement of the neoplastic or lymphoproliferative disorders. So these are the different type of cells which can also be assessed on the biopsy. The marrow stroma is very important, and it basically supporting framework for the hemopoietic cells, and it is made up of reticular cells, fat cells, fibroblasts, reticulin fibrils, networks of the blood vessels including the sinusoids, and it is examined for the gelatinous bone marrow transformation. The reticulin network is basically 0 to 4 grade, and marrow necrosis and the fibrosis of the marrow can easily be assessed. So blood vessels, we can also see the disorders of the blood vessels, especially the arteriosclerosis, arthritis, and amyloidosis can be easily diagnosed on the trophine marrow biopsy. So here you can see the bony trabeculae. Basically they are very regular, and they basically easily seen, and the number of unsuspected cases of osteopathies are picked up. Normally the bony trabeculae are the parallel and form of uniform thickness. Here you can see the uniform thickness of the trabeculae, and these are lined by the resting osteoblast, and the trabecular surface of the smooth, and the osteoclasts are usually not seen, and there is a change in the trabecular surface, their thickness, osteoblast numbers, and appearance of the osteoclast, and their location in various osteopathies is noted. So whenever there is a change in the number of the osteoblast as well as osteoclast, they will indicate some type of bony pathology, which also can be assessed on the bone marrow biopsy. Apart from this, we can also do the iron stores, and we will try to assess the iron stores on the marrow biopsy as well. And here you can see the grading of these iron stores on the bone marrow biopsy, and it can be graded from grade 0 to grade 4. So in the grade 0 we will see no hemosiderin granules, and in grade 1 we will see fine granules in every 3 to 4 high power field, and grade 2 there is a heavier granules in every 2 to 3 high power field, and in grade 3 granules in every high power field in one or more cells are seen, and in case of grade 4 massive abnormal deposits with the clumps and the heavy granules are noted. So we try to interpret the iron stores on the marrow. In the grade 0 we will see they are seen in the iron deficiency anemias, grade 1 to 2 normal stores, and grade 3 to 4 increased stores. So this is how we can interpret the iron stores. So this is the same diagram. Here you can see the hemosiderin. Basically the golden brown pigment is assessed in A, and heavy hemosiderin deposits are seen in the B. So here you can see the heavy deposition of this hemosiderin. So this is the example of the iron deficiency anemia. How we have to report the bone marrow aspiration. So here you can see the cellularity. So we will try to comment on the cellularity. Apart from this, we will comment on the myeloid ethyte ratio, and it is normally 3:1. And erythropoiesis, in case of iron deficiency anemia, it is the reaction is micronormoblastic, is reaction seen, and there is an increase in the late normoblast are also observed. In case of myeloid or myelopoiesis, basically the numbers and morphology of maturations, they are normal in case of iron deficiency. In case of megakaryocytes, they are also normal, and the plasma cells, they are also within normal limit. Reticulum cells, they are also normal. And iron stores, basically it is very important to diagnose, and their grade becomes 0 in case of iron deficiency anemias. Normal grade is from grade 3 to grade 4. So this is how we will comment, and we will try to diagnose this condition by interpreting these findings. Another case, here you can see the case of leukemia, and this is how we will comment on the erythropoiesis. Basically there is erythroid hypoplasia. Myelopoiesis, you can see the decreased in number. Megakaryocytes are also decreased. Plasma cell normal, and blast cell more than 90% is indicated of acute leukemias. So this is this is how you can report. And there is another report of the bone marrow aspiration. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope this video is basically useful for you. Thank you very much.